Hey everybody, my name is Spencer. I am the guy who runs Gocher's Cards here in the Northeast Oklahoma area. I've had a lot of people this year ask me, hey, how did you get into keeping, high valued cards? And I figured in between shows and posting and editing those videos, I would try to do a couple discussion videos every now and then. So we're not going to make it too awful long or too often, but we'll do them every now and then. So something I wanted to go over today is somewhat of a black sheep here in the Pokemon trading card community, but it's very effective if you are looking to make a little bit of money to put back into your collection. So today I'm going to go over one of the methods that I used to 30x my collection value in 2024, and that was grading and selling PSA 1 quality cards. So for a lot of people, just hit this up front, a lot of people believe that PSA 1s are worthless. There's no value to them. There shouldn't be any value to them. And unfortunately, for those people, not everybody agrees with that opinion. So I wanted to go over this today because I don't want you all to shy away from grading cards that are not PSA 10 quality. Now, obviously, if you've got modern cards and you're thinking they're going to get a PSA 7 or 8, or even, to be honest with you, a 9, if it's a modern card, it's really not worth grading. But old vintage cards, black and white era, stuff from the e-reader series, really valuable cards that happen to be beat to absolute hell, happen to be worth a pretty good chunk of money whenever they're put in a slab and given a PSA 1. So wanted to go over that today. Keep in mind, again, a lot of people think it's PSA 10 or bust, but that just isn't the case. So I wanted to go over a few reasons why you should consider grading your cards if you think that they are PSA 1 quality. The first one is it's a niche market, guys. So in a niche market, if you can provide a niche product, oftentimes it sells. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every card that you grade that gets a PSA 1 is going to really be worth that $15 grading fee and the shipping cost and then waiting around for a month or two in order to sell it. But what I am going to tell you is keep in mind, a lot of people want to own really cool, nostalgic, expensive cards, but they can't afford it in near mint raw price, light played price, or PSA 9 or 10 price. I'm talking about cards like Skyridge Charizards and Fire Red Leaf Green Gengar EXs. Stuff of that nature tends to do really well in a PSA 1. And why is the reason for that? It's because people really like the artwork. People really like being able to say, hey, I own a Skyridge Charizard. I own it in a PSA slab, but they can't afford, not many people can, a $10,000 Pokemon card, right? So this niche market has come about from that need, the need to own a card of such significant value, of such nostalgic value without breaking your bank. So this community that I'm talking about, mostly you're going to find on Facebook groups. There are several PSA 1 Pokemon Facebook groups that you can get on. You can buy, sell, and trade PSA 1 cards or cards that are raw that you believe are PSA 1 quality. They even allow, some groups even allow up to about a PSA 5 as long as it's a beat up card. But the idea really is to push that PSA 1 market. So we were talking about that niche market. People feel a sense of community outside of this giant community that we all know and love as Pokemon, right? So they found their own little corner with like-minded individuals that value these cards, and they buy, sell, and trade together just like we do in your typical Pokemon market. but with these much more beat up, but also very sought after and rare cards. Also keep in mind, PSA 1s oftentimes have a very low population report. This isn't a big deal for some people, but for others it does tend to be a driving factor as to why they would get into something like this. It is cool and fun and worth gloating about for others whenever they can say, hey, I own the only one in the world, right? Or hey, I own one of 5 that are out there. And whenever they are, these people are negotiating and selling and buying in these markets, throwing that out there, one, it's a flex, but at the same time, it's a good selling point, or it's a good reason to buy. We do the same thing with PSA 10s, right? The Umbreon VMAX is worth a ton of money. Today's date is 12/31/2024. It's worth $2 grand, $2,100 right now, and it's just been going up like crazy during this bull market that we hopped into. But there's 12,000 something of them out there. So are they cool? Yeah. There's not enough to meet demand, which is why the price is so high. But at the same time, it's really not that rare. I mean, you can find them. There's 12,000 of them out there. You can go on eBay and you can find one very quickly. So the low pop report is another driving factor why people are really into this market. The fourth thing, getting a PSA 1 is a lot tougher than people think. I have people come to me all the time and say, Spencer, why would I be interested in PSA 1s when I can take any old card and I can make it into a PSA 1? Somewhat of a fair argument, but I'm going to throw a few things at you with that argument. The first one is, nobody's taking a near mint to mint card that could grade a 9 or a 10 and purposefully beating it up if it has any value, right? If this is a 50, 60, 70, 80, $100 plus card, nobody is going to purposefully take the card and crinkle it up and bend it and scratch it on the pavement in order to get a PSA 1. They're just not going to do it, right? Some people that have way too much money out there might do it, but it'll purely be for, a social media wow than it will be about actually trying to profit off of it. So, number one, you have to find a card that is highly sought after, rare, oftentimes vintage, usually hard to come by, in pretty beat up shape. You also have to find it from somebody who is willing to sell it. You have to have the capital up front in order to buy it. And keep in mind, some of these cards are going to be worth hundreds of dollars, even in torn to bit shape, right? They'll have creases, they'll have bends, scratches, all kinds of things wrong with them. And you have to be willing to shell out the money in order to profit. Okay, scared money doesn't make any money. Keep that in mind. Let me fix my camera here. But again, it's tougher than you think. You also have to shell out the money for the grading fee. It's $15 usually. You also have to wait 1 to 2 months for that to get back. Same as grading any other card. But you're putting a lot of time, effort, and capital into cards that most people are going to consider worthless. Okay, so it's somewhat of a gamble until that card has a 1 on its slab. And keep in mind, that is the other challenging part. You may send in a card and you may think it's a 1 quality, and that grader either is having a bad day, just like somebody going after a 10 and they get a 9 and that card's a 10 quality all day. That grader may say, oh, you know what? I know what they're doing. They want a PSA 1. I'm going to give it a 2 though. Or they may have just looked at several cards that were beat up and they may have graded them and said, oh, you know what? Those cards were in a little bit worse shape than this one. I gave that a PSA 1. I'm going to give these a PSA 2, right? Or a 3 or a 4. And oftentimes, unless the card is, super sought after, like a Skyridge Charizard or a base set Charizard or something very niche, unless it gets the 1, you're wasting money because a lot of people do not care about grades PSA 2 through 5. That's really, those are the most worthless grades for most cards that people can get, unless we're talking about gold stars and, you know, the like. But if you're going after the PSA 1 with a specific type of card, and you get a 2 or a 3, you're wasting money. You'll want to crack it out of that slab and sell it raw before you attempt to sell it as a 2 or 3. So, bleeding into the next reason why PSA 1s, also keep in mind, it's not more challenging than a PSA 10. I get people all the time say, PSA 1s are not hard because I can make a PSA 1, like I was saying earlier. They're not more challenging than a PSA 10. Yeah, no duh. I agree with that sentiment. Getting a PSA 10, 9 times out of 10, is tougher than getting a PSA 1. You have to find a mint card, you have to find it raw, you have to find somebody who's willing to sell it to you for raw price at a mint condition without grading it themselves and profiting, especially in today's age where grading is off the charts. Everybody's doing it now. Yes, getting a PSA 10, I would say, is tougher than getting a PSA 1. However, it is still a challenge to get a PSA 1. It's not tougher, it's just different, maybe a little less challenging, but still very challenging. And it requires patience and like I said, money and a bit of luck. So, I'm going to show you right here a couple of the cards, a few of the cards that I graded this year into a PSA 1. So the first group that I sent off to get PSA 1s in order to try and turn a profit this year was the base set first edition starters. I found the Charmander and Bulbasaur pretty beat up at a local card store. And I actually only paid $4 for those cards. I got very lucky. You know, everybody's had their opportunity where they find a card, it's underpriced, get it for a deal. I found it at a local card store. They had it in a bin, a couple bucks, grabbed them both. So I picked up those two, and then I had to buy the Squirtle on eBay for about $40. It was in light played minus shape, and I went ahead and, you know, gave it some creases. I sent those 3 cards off together sequentially as a group. And when I got them back, to my surprise and happiness, they were all 3 graded PSA 1. So I got the PSA 1 first edition base set starters in 1s sequentially. That was a very sought after group. I didn't realize how sought after until I posted them for sale. So I was into that group of cards for less than $100. You have $40 for the Squirtle, you have another $4 for the Bulbasaur and Charmander, and then you've got $15 each for the grading fees. I went through Pokemon World. This was before I had my own PSA subscription, and actually I paid about $18 a card because they go up a few for their services. But again, still, I was less than $100 into all 3 cards. And I posted them for sale in the PSA 1 group. I had somebody message me in under 48 hours saying, hey, I am very interested in these. I believe it to be the only sequential set in the world. What do you want for them? So I went online and I looked up what a PSA 9 set was going for. Well, I couldn't find any sets, but I found them just by themselves, PSA 9s. And you could get them for about $175 a piece. So given that they were in sequential order, the only PSA 1 set in the world, I put them at $200 a piece and I asked for $600. The buyer had told me they were expecting to pay about $500, but they were happy to pay the $600 that I was asking. In under 48 hours after receiving my cards back from PSA or Pokemon World, I had sold them in beat up shape in slabs for $600 and had profited about $500. It's a huge come up for a lot of people, including myself. Who doesn't want an extra $500, right? And on top of that, I also had another card a couple months ago that I sold to a good friend of mine, Bobby. I sold Bobby a PSA 1 reverse hollow Aquapolis Tyranitar. Beautiful card. From the front, you could barely, tell why it received a 1, and from the back, you couldn't tell at all. There was some issues on the front, but given that it was on the reverse hollow, it was really hard to see, and from the back, you couldn't see it at all. So I sold that card to Bobby we took some trade in, but ultimately the value was around 75 bucks. I got that Aquapolis Tyranitar for $10, as well as the $15 grading fee because I graded it myself. So I was in it for 25. I got about 75 in value out of it. So that card ended up selling for a profit of about 50 bucks. And I'll go ahead and post the picture of that card right here, so you all enjoy that. But all this to say, the reason I'm making this video and why I'm making this my first discussion video is because this tends to be a hot button topic with a lot of people in this community. But keep in mind, there are people out there who like these cards, and to be honest with you, after grading several of them, I've kind of grown to enjoy them myself. That group of the base set cards sold in under 48 hours. The Aquapolis Tyranitar that I graded sold at the first show that I took it to. So this is stuff that moves fairly quickly. If my raw near mint cards sold as fast as my PSA 1 cards do, I'd be elated, over the moon. And I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a long time. So I encourage you all to go out and try to find, if you're trying to increase the value of your collection and you're looking for non-conventional ways in order to do that, especially if you're not afraid of grading, I encourage you to try going after PSA 1s. Now, keep in mind, you're not going to get a PSA 1 card that's worth, $2 market as a raw card and then flip it for 500 bucks. It's not going to happen it's just not. But if you find a rare and expensive card that just so happens to be beat up and somebody doesn't want a whole lot of money for it because it's in terrible condition, don't worry about what other people are going to think about you grading that card. Go with your gut instinct. If you have the extra money, give it a shot, because PSA 1s can be profitable. So just to give you all an idea of 2 cards that I'm potentially going to send off for my next PSA 1 submission, even though I've already got a few off from Skyridge and Neo Discovery, I picked these up today. This is the Zekrom EX Full Art from, I believe, Plasma Blast. And then we also picked up a Ho-Oh EX Full Art. And I don't remember what set this is from, to be honest with you. Maybe Undaunted. I'm not entirely sure. But stuff like this that's rare and pretty and, eye-appealing in a PSA 1, will go for a little bit of money. This Zekrom I paid $8.99 for, and I believe, and I'll put another 15 into it for grading. I believe that I'll be able to, in a PSA 1, I think I can sell it for 50, 60, maybe 70 bucks. The Ho-Oh, I think I could probably get 50 to 60 in a PSA 1, and I paid 14 for that one. Okay, so not massive profits, but most definitely profitable. And then again, if you find anything from Skyridge or Aquapolis or any of the e-reader sets, Expedition, any of the big sets like Fire Red Leaf Green, that Gengar from that set. If you find cards of that type of value that are just beat to absolute heck, don't shy away from them. They might still turn you a profit if you play your cards right. Anyway, guys, this is, we'll go ahead and wrap this video up. This will be the end of my first discussion video. I appreciate you hanging out and watching my last 4 videos that I've posted. I will try my best to get more up and running. Our next show is February 1st, 2024 at the 10 Point Collectibles Show in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. I would love to see you all there. I believe it's at the Arrow Springs Chapel over there in Broken Arrow. We will also be doing the House Divided Card Show the following weekend on February 8th. And then we will be yet again at the GG2 Card Show in March, also in Broken Arrow at the Stony Creek Hotel. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, I would appreciate any likes, comments, or subscriptions. It's really helping me out, and it gives me motivation to keep at it. If you all have any opinions about PSA 1s, if you own any PSA 1s, or if you think it's stupid, I'd love to hear your opinion below. Go ahead and drop that in the comments, and we will see you all at the next one. Thank you so much, and I hope you all have a great New Year.
Thank you.